Hey guys, Doge here, back with another Let's Play. This time I thought I'd try another game, and I chose FTL, also known as Faster Than Light, which I guess, oddly enough, they don't specify on their main menu. So this game is, I guess, a strategy game, where you play as a ship, and you're running away from rebel ships, and the objective is to get through the different stages and end up at the final stage where you fight a boss, and if you defeat the boss then you win that game, I guess. I guess the goal of the game is to unlock all of the ships by completing different objectives during different run-throughs of the game. So let's take a look at the ships. So there are all of these types of ships. And then at the top here you can see there's 3 types for each ship. So there's Type A, Type B, and Type C. And I guess these two don't have a Type C. And to unlock the next type, you have to complete any 2 of these objectives. So for example, if we look at this ship, I've already completed this objective, and there's these 2 other objectives, and if I complete any one of these, then I have the 2 that I need, and I'd unlock the Type B of this ship over here. So that's sort of how it works. As you guys can see, I've already played this game quite a bit, so that's why I've unlocked a number of these ships. Not a lot still, I mean there's still plenty left to unlock. So I thought maybe it might be fun if we try and unlock a new ship. So specifically this one, since I've already unlocked or completed one of these objectives, I only need to complete one more of these to unlock the Type B. So let's see, what are the 2 objectives? So with the Zoltan Cruiser, have 29 power in systems at the same time. Okay. Or get to Sector 5 without upgrading your reactor on the Zoltan Cruiser. I mean, these 2 are, I guess, competing objectives. So I either get lots of power or I have very little power. So I guess let me try playing as this ship. So the Zoltan Cruiser. So let's get started, I guess. And I'll turn off Advanced Edition content just because it's a little complicated. So let's try a simple game mode to get started for the first game, I guess. Okay, so here we are. There's a number of, long messages in the game that sort of give you a little bit of storyline, I guess, but that's I've already basically seen most of it, so I'm not going to read through all of them. But let's just take a look at what we have to get started here. So let's pause the game. So we have 2 weapons. So your weapons are down here. I have 2 weapons. I have the halberd beam and I have this Leto, which, as you can see by this missile indicator, this is a missile-based weapon. And then there are also the possibility of having drones, which we don't have. Then down here is our power bars. So this is our spare power and these are our systems. So I have 1 extra power bar, which I could use to power the Leto, for example. So now this is using 2 power bars. And this weapon does not have enough power to power itself, so it's not powered on. So what I could do is turn off the medical bay, turn off the Leto, then I have the extra 2 power bars I need to power up this halberd beam. So that's sort of how the power bars work. So these are your extra power bars that you're not using for anything, and these are your systems that you're using power bars for. Then on the bottom right side here we have subsystems. So these don't use power bars from your reactor. But they do have their own sort of power level, and if they get damaged then their power level decreases. So one of the important systems here is the doors, which lets you open and close different doors on your ship. So each of these little rectangles are doors. Then over here at the left side we have our crew members. So we have 3 crew members here to start with, and they're all at full health and they all have no skills. So as they sort of do different tasks, they'll get more skills, and once they fill up this bar, then they'll get a certain perk. Then we have up here the hull bar, so that's sort of self-explanatory. We have shield levels here, and we can have up to 4 layers of shields. Right now we only have 1 layer. Over here we have the Evasion Chance, which is basically the chance that we'll dodge an attack from the enemy. This is our oxygen level on the entire ship. This is our fuel, so we use 1 fuel for each jump, which I guess I'll explain in a second. These are the number of missiles we have, so for example this weapon uses 1 missile per each time it fires. These are our drone parts, so we can also have drone systems, and it's similar to missiles, it'll use 1 drone part for each drone we fire. This is our scrap, which is basically like money. You use this to buy stuff. This is the jump button, which we use to jump to different sectors. I'll show you that in a bit. This is the ship info screen, so this is where you upgrade your systems. So for example, you can upgrade your power bars here, you can upgrade each of your subsystems here to be able to do more. You can upgrade these things. Up here we have the crew tab, so you can see your different crew members and get rid of some if you don't want them anymore. And over here we have the weapons and the cargo. This is where the drone systems would go if we had one. And then here augmentations, which are extra stuff on top. So for example, we have the Zoltan Shield, which is the specialty item for this ship. And what it gives us is a one-time shield. That's what this green bar under the shields bar is. It's this green thing, this one-time shield that's there when we first get into a sector, and once it depletes, it doesn't recharge until we jump to the next sector. So it's sort of useful to get started, and if you can sort of damage the enemy a lot before the shield runs out, then I guess it's done its job. One other thing to keep in mind is these crew members, when they're in different rooms, they actually could potentially have different perks. So that's what these little head icons are on these different power sections. So for example, if somebody's in the weapons room, that's what this manned 10% faster charge stat is for. So I get 10% faster recharging for weapons when there is a crew member in the weapons room. So this crew member is in the weapons room, so I get 10% faster recharge. Similarly, these other systems also have their own benefits if someone's in that room. One of the important rooms is, I guess, the cockpit, where if you don't have someone in the cockpit and you haven't upgraded it to have autopilot, then your evasion chance goes to 0, so you cannot dodge anything. So I guess that's sort of the basics. I know I went through it pretty quickly, but I hope you guys sort of caught that. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's go to the jump menu. So this is the first sector, so we're at sector 1, and this is the system we're at, and these green dots sort of show us the systems we can jump to from the system we're at. So we can jump to any of these different systems. And once we jump, let's say we jump to this system, for example, then from here we can jump to any of these yellow highlighted systems. So we could jump to any of these systems around this way. And then over here is the exit. So this is where we leave this sector and go to sector 2. And we go through 8 sectors, and I believe the 8th sector is where we fight the boss. So that's sort of basically how the flow of the game works. And as we jump between sectors, you'll start to see a wave of enemies sort of take over the map, and you don't want to jump into sectors that are controlled by the enemy. So we sort of have to slowly move our way towards the side and jump out of this sector before the enemies have taken over, I guess, the exit of the sector. So let's start off by jumping into one of these sectors. So I'm going to jump to this one just because it has the most connection points, so we might be able to sort of get an eye on what special things there might be in these different systems. So let's jump to this sector. So as you can see, that used one of our fuel. Okay, so we've jumped to our first sector and we've encountered our first enemy. So this is where you see your enemy. These are the basic stats of your enemy. This is their hull points, this is their shield levels, these are their systems. So once they are incapacitated, their systems will turn yellow or red depending if they're damaged or completely destroyed. So let's get started. And this is a game where it's very much about micromanaging. So I'm going to pause the game right when we get started here and sort of figure out what our strategy is going to be. So the halberd beam has 2 damage per room. So I guess the types of weapons we'll get more into as we play the game, but there are beam weapons, and there are laser weapons, and there are ion weapons, and there are missiles, and there are drones, I guess. So beam weapons, how they work is they cut across a part of the ship. So for example, I can cut across these three parts of the ship, these three rooms, and it'll sort of go across like this and damage these three rooms. Missile weapons can target only one room. I can't use it right now because it's not powered, but that's how it works. It would target only one room. So this guy has actually a laser weapon over here. So laser weapons shoot usually, they usually shoot a number of different shots, but they could shoot only one shot depending on the exact model of the weapon. But they can also only target one room. And this guy also has a beam weapon over here, as you can see. And you can actually also see the weapons on my ship. So this is the halberd beam, and this is the Lido missile launcher down here. So now the thing with beam weapons is they do not damage shields. So since this beam weapon has 2 damage per room, that means that it can, once you have 2 layers of shields, it does not do anything. So this guy has 1 layer of shield, plus he's actually also the same type of ship as me. So he's got this Zoltan Shield, which is the same thing I have over here. So this counts as, I guess, 5 layers of shields, or I don't know how the technicalities work, but I'm not going to be able to damage this guy with just a halberd beam while he has this green shield functional. Similarly, the missiles do not get through this green shield. So I'm actually going to have to waste a bunch of missiles damaging this green shield until I eventually can get through the green shield, and then I can use the halberd beam to damage the actual systems. Let's target our missile at the shield room, or maybe let's target the weapons. So this is sort of part of the strategy of the game, is where you want to target. So I could target the shields and make it easier to attack in, or I could target the weapons and sort of save my own ship. And at this point I think I'm going to target the weapons, just because I'm not sure how powerful these weapons are. So let's unpause the game and let's get started. So the weapon's charging up. Once it reaches full, there we go, we fired our missile. So the missile hit this guy's shield and it did 1 damage on the shield. So as you can see, this is now 4 out of 5, which is sort of similar to what our own shield level would be. So it's going to take 5 hits just to get through this green shield. So that's going to be 5 missiles, which is quite expensive. And this guy fired his 1 laser, which is going to do 1 damage to our shield. And as you can see, our shield is also down a little bit. So actually it does look like the beam weapon this guy's using does do damage to our shields. So maybe I can use our beam weapon to damage this guy's shield as well. So I'm going to try and, strategically aim our beam weapon like this. And let's see if we can actually damage this guy's shield. That's something I didn't know, because I do know the beam weapons don't get through, or don't damage traditional shields. But I guess maybe they do damage the Zoltan shields. Yeah, okay. Never mind, I guess they do damage Zoltan shields. Okay, our shields are down. Okay, they're back up. I get the feeling this weapon has 2 damage, just like ours, so it might be able to do some damage to our ship. Oh, I guess not. It looks like it only does 1 damage, so it's not going to be able to damage our ship as long as our 1 shield is up. So there you go. Our weapon was able to damage 3 of their systems here, and the orange means that the system is damaged but not completely disabled, and the red means that the system is completely disabled. There we go, this guy's destroyed, and let's see what we get. Okay, so we get 4 reactor fuel and 21 scrap. So this is our money, and this is our fuel for our jumps. You might get random prizes sometimes, you might get weapons, you might get crew members, you might get all sorts of random stuff. It's really just up to chance. So that was our first encounter. It didn't go extremely well, because I did not know that our beam weapon can actually damage Zoltan shields, so that's something I do know now. And as you can see, our one-time Zoltan shield has completely depleted, so it's not going to charge up anymore until we jump. Once I jump, then it'll be fully charged again. So let's go ahead and jump to another system. None of these look particularly interesting right now, so maybe we might want to sort of zigzag a little bit around here. Maybe let's jump into this nebula. Okay, so our second system of the day and our second enemy of the day. So this guy is a weapons trader, and I guess they want I can either ignore the ship or I can attack the ship. And just taking a look at the weapons here, this guy's got a pretty powerful laser weapon, and it looks like a pretty mediocre beam weapon. And another thing to consider is nebulas usually have some sort of a strange effect on your ship. In this case, it has disabled my camera system, so that means I can't look inside my own ship. But that's not a big deal. There are worse effects in nebulas, which I'm sure we'll see as we keep playing. So, just for the heck of it, let's try attacking the ship and see how we do. So let's take our beam weapon, and maybe we can attack like this. So that's going to actually take, so I don't know if you guys caught that, that's going to actually damage all 4 of these rooms. So that's one of the advantages of beam weapons, is you can be very strategic about damaging a lot of rooms, and a lot of strategic rooms. So it's going to damage their oxygen, going to damage their weapons, their shields, and their piloting. I mean, I guess our one-time Zoltan Shield will do a good job of defending against their weapons for a little while. Although, see, okay, yeah, so this laser weapon actually shoots 3 shots per time it fires. But that being said, it looks like their ship is badly debilitated right now just after 1 shot of our halberd beam. And this guy's beam weapon is only 1 damage, so it's not able to penetrate our shield. So as long as their laser weapon is disabled, they're not going to get through our shield. So that being said, they just got destroyed. So too bad for them, I guess. And we get 2 missiles, 1 drone part, and 16 scrap. So let's take a look at the jump menu. So you can start to see, you can see the enemies here sort of starting to creep up onto the map. You'll see them more as we sort of work through this level. So where might we jump this time? I'm thinking maybe down here and around this way. So let's try jumping here. And what do we have here? So in this nebula, I guess it's sort of hard to see in the background here, but there are 2 effects. So we lose our sensors, our cameras, just like last time, but we also lose some power bars. So this environmental effect makes our power bar half. So that's not, you know, great, because that does mean that we don't have the 2 power bars we needed to power up our halberd beam. But I guess a way around that would be to turn off our shields, or yeah, I mean, so these yellow power bars are actually not part of our system power bars. They're actually provided by our crew members. So this species of crew members actually provide 1 power to the room they're in. So these yellow ones are, I can't take off that power bar. Now I don't know if having 2 crew members in the same room will power the system with 2 bars. It might, in which case I might send this guy to this room and then turn off our oxygen to have 3 power bars for this halberd beam, if we do find an enemy. But let's take a look at our options here. So we can manually search the wreckage for survivors and equipment, or avoid the risk. So if I search for survivors and equipment, I could potentially get a new crew member, I could get some sort of an equipment, but I could also just get damage to my ship. So I guess I'm going to take the risk. Let's see what we get. Okay, so we get 17 scrap and 1 defense drone. So that's interesting. So if we take a look at our cargo here, we have this defense drone. So we can't use it yet since we don't have a drone system, but it could be pretty useful later on if we do have a defense, if we do have a drone system installed. And we could also just sell it for extra scrap. So that's good. And we did get a little bit of scrap as well. So let's jump out of this nebula. So here is our first interesting waypoint marker. There's a distress signal here. So that's usually, I mean, depending on what you want, you're usually guaranteed to find a ship there. It might be an enemy, it might be a friend, but there is most definitely, most of the time, there's going to be a ship there. So I guess let's jump this way and take a look at what we have there. Okay, so we have our 3rd enemy here. It looks like they're asking for fuel. If we give them fuel, they might be able to give us something in return. We do have quite a bit of fuel, so maybe let's try giving them fuel and see what we get. Do we get anything? Okay, so they gave us some information about the map. So if we take a look at the map here, so they've sort of told us what is at each position in the map. So these I guess exclamation points are where ships are located. These store markers are where the stores are located, and these other points don't have anything in them. I guess they don't have ships in them, but they might have other stuff in them. So that's interesting. We do have a store here. So one thing we could do is sort of maybe come down around this way and get a bunch of scrap that we can then use at the store. So that might be a good strategy. So maybe let me jump down this way. And let's see what we can find down here. So here we have an automated drone. So this is not a drone in the sense of that the drone subsystem. This is just a ship that's doesn't have any crew members. So I could attack them or I could do nothing. So it looks like they have a missile system here and a laser system. So maybe I'll attack them, since I'm hoping I can destroy their weapon systems fast enough that they're not going to be able to do any damage to me. So let's see. Okay, yeah, so I can get 4 of their rooms with 1 strike of the halberd beam, which is pretty powerful. And they don't have any shields as well, so it'll do 2 damage per room. So this guy's missiles aren't going to do anything while I have my Zoltan Shields up. And then 1 attack from this is actually going to completely destroy their ship. So there we go, we got 13 scrap, and we can investigate the station. What do we get from the station? 8 scrap and a hull repair drone. So we are getting, we are getting some pretty useful drones, but right now those are not particularly useful to us since we cannot use them. So let's jump down this way and see what we can get here. So, okay, it's a pirate. I can attack them or I can ignore them. They seem to have a laser weapon here and a missile weapon here. So this looks like a pretty good target as well. Their missiles are not going to do any damage to us while we have our Zoltan Shields, and this laser weapon is only one projectile per attack, most likely, judging just by the shape of it from my experience. So I'm going to attack them. And let's see what we can do here. We can probably target for their room skin, yes. So let's do that, and let's see what we can get from these guys here. So they are now trying to escape. So this is another thing that they can do. So you can see here that we've detected that their FTL drive is charging. And if their FTL drive reaches full, then they can actually jump away from this sector and we're not going to get anything from them. And at the same time, our FTL drive is also charging, so we could also, if our drive reaches full, we could also jump away from here in case maybe they're too powerful and we're not able to destroy them or something like that. So that's a concept that exists, but these guys are not going to last another attack from our halberd beam, so that's not going to be a problem. There we go, these guys are done. And we get 1 missile, a drone part, and some scrap. And then we find a station, I guess, that the pirates were attacking, and they gave us 3 fuel, 2 missiles, and 9 scrap. So we're at 111 scrap right now, which is pretty cool. We could jump through this way, and we might be able to find some random encounters here and get some free stuff. But we might also just find nothing. So maybe let's go through one of them instead of 2 of them and see what we can find here. Might be nothing, yeah, it's just nothing. So let's jump to the store now. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have at the store. So we have some crew members which we can buy. Neither of these crew members have particularly appealing skills. All of them are at 0 for every skill. So I'm not going to look at those. We do have some weapons here as well. We have the firebomb and we have the burst blazer 2. So the firebomb is a bomb type weapon, so I guess this is similar to the missile type weapon, and it does use 1 missile for each time it fires. As you can see, it says require missile there on the right. But the difference between bomb type weapons and missile type weapons is missiles travel through space and they have to get through shields, whereas bomb type weapons teleport, so they can teleport through shields, but they are both still susceptible to the same dodge chance, so it's possible that your bomb will miss, but it is useful to get through shields quickly if you you know, if your enemy has a lot of shields and you just want to get through them. So that could be good, but I also see the burst laser 2 over here, which fires 3 shots per charge, and it only uses 2 power bars. So this is one of the classic weapons that are, you know, very versatile and very useful. So maybe I'll buy the burst laser 2, and I guess that's it, not sell anything. So I guess this is a good time to think about which of those 2 objectives we wanted to work towards in this game. So we could work towards the objective of having no power bar upgrades until Sector 5, or we could work towards having what was the other objective? Oh, here it is. Okay, so 29 power bars at the same time. So 29. So right now, if I look at my ship, I have 5 power bars. So to get 29, that's going to be 10, 15, 20. That's like basically upgrading to the full capacity of all of these power bars, which is pretty intense. I mean, it costs a lot. So right now it only costs 20 scrap to upgrade 1 more power bar, but it gets more and more expensive as you fill these up. It's going to take a lot of scrap for that, and I don't think I've ever had that much scrap in a single game. So that's kind of a bit much. So maybe the other objective here, which was get to Sector 5 without upgrading my reactor, maybe that's going to be a little bit more achievable, although it is still difficult, because that means, I mean, that's basically crippling my ship, so I'm not going to be able to get, you know, a bunch of weapons at the same time and that sort of stuff, since I can't upgrade anything. Now, I don't know if this, like, there are certain random events that can occur which will give you a power bar for free. I don't know if that counts as violating this objective. Maybe I can look that up real quick. Okay, so I looked it up online, and it does look like the so 2 things. It does look like if I get a free power bar using some random event, that doesn't count against this objective, so I can do that, and it's perfectly fine. And then another thing, which I guess I sort of didn't realize, is this objective is only to not upgrade the system power bars, but I can upgrade the actual systems. So that just means I have 5 power bars, and you know, I can upgrade my systems, but I have to rearrange my 5 power bars into them to sort of get the power I need. And I guess another thing which I didn't really consider is my crew members give me 1 free power bar each. So I guess a way around the problem of having fewer power bars is to get more of these Zoltan crew members, which will give me more effective power bars to use on my ship. So that objective seems a little bit more doable. So maybe I'll try and do that. And let's jump to this system and have a look at what we have here. Okay, so Mercenary, I can hire them to delay the rebels, which is not particularly useful to me. I could hire them to scout the sector, which will show me what's on the map, but that's not useful since I already know what's on the map. I could fight them, or I can do nothing. So this guy's got a laser weapon. It looks like it's probably going to be 2 to 3 shots with that laser weapon, and he's got a beam weapon that looks like it's going to be 1 damage. So, and he's only got 1 shield level, so maybe I'll attack this guy, and I don't think this guy's going to be able to do any damage to me before I can destroy his ship, depending on how many shots this guy shoots. I think it's going to be 2 shots. Oh, it's 3 shots. That's interesting. But yeah, that's not going to be able to do anything. There we go. This guy's destroyed. So we got 3 fuel, 1 drone part, and 12 scrap. Okay, not bad. And see, you can see the enemies are really starting to creep up on us here. It might even be fine if I jump here and then to the exit, but we'll see after we've jumped at this point. We'll sort of estimate if that might be okay. So, somebody asking me to pay their toll, or I can reject them. If I reject them, they're most likely going to go to attack me. It looks like this guy's got a beam weapon, probably 1 damage, and this looks like a laser weapon, probably 1, maybe 2 damage. So I'm going to reject their offer since they only have 1 shield. This looks like it's going to be an easy victory for me. Yeah, this looks like a pretty weak um, laser weapon. So it looks like they're going to offer me some cargo in exchange for ceasing my attack. I don't really have a strong need for either of these right now. I have a pretty good supply of missiles and I have no need for drone parts right now, and the scrap is very small amount of scrap here, so I'm going to not accept the surrender. And let's see what we get from these guys. So yeah, you can see we get a lot more scrap, and I guess we get 2 fuel instead of the missile, so that's kind of cool. I'm going to jump to this point. Generally, it's a good idea to jump to as many systems as you can in the earlier sectors, since there are weaker enemies in the earlier sectors, and you, especially if you're doing really well in terms of, defeating the enemies, you want to attack as many enemies as you can in the earlier sectors and get as much loot as you can. So let's see, I can intervene and defend the outpost, or I can avoid the conflict. These guys have a beam weapon and a laser weapon, it looks like, and they only have 1 shield, so I am gonna attack this guy. So here we got 2 missiles, a drone part, and 15 scrap. That's pretty cool, and since we defended the station, they gave us 4 fuel and 15 scrap, so we're up to 86 scrap again, so that's pretty good. Let's jump to the exit here, and let's see what we have at the exit. There's sometimes a random encounter there. So yeah, here a vessel approaches, they offer to give us drone parts in exchange for fuel. We don't need drone parts, so I'm sorry, but I'm not going to take that deal. And then our next jump is going to be to the next sector. So when we go to the sector screen here, this is sort of the 8 sectors I was talking about. So we're at the first sector here, and all the way over here is the sector where you fight the boss, and you sort of get to choose how you go through the sectors. And there are different types of sectors, so there's a legend down here. The green ones are civilian, the red ones are hostile, and the purple ones are nebula. I haven't noticed a whole lot of practical difference between the civilian and hostile so-called sectors. They usually have about the same number of enemies and the same number of friendly ships. And then the nebula are the ones that are sort of different from these in the sense that they have a lot of those nebula systems which have the special effects that disable different systems in your ship. So that's something to avoid if you don't have a whole lot of power bars in your systems, which is the situation I have here. So maybe it would be best to avoid the nebulas. So in that spirit, maybe we can head down this way. Or actually, you know what, if we head this way, we can actually avoid nebulas altogether by heading along like this. So maybe we can do that. So let's head up here to the rock-controlled sector. And now here we are in Sector 2, and if we take a look at the map here, so this is a whole new sector with a whole new bunch of systems. So that's basically how the game works. I think this might be a good place to stop the first part of this Let's Play. I don't want it to get too long. So I hope you guys had fun, and I'll see you guys in part 2.